Welcome, my dear friends, to our Voice of His Kingdom weekly devotion. This is our episode 50, and I'll be taking my text from the last chapter of the book of Genesis, chapter 50. Our key verses will come from verses 6 to 9. Let's read them together. Pharaoh said, "Go up and bury your father, as he made you swear to do." So Joseph went up to bury his father. All Pharaoh's officials accompanied him, the dignitaries of his court and all the dignitaries of Egypt, besides all the members of Joseph's household and his brothers and those belonging to his father's household. Only their children and their flocks and herds were left in Goshen. Chariots and horsemen also went up with him. It was a very large company. Let's look at the background to our text. After prophesying upon his children and blessing them, now Jacob finally died. After living for 147 years, we thank God for his life. He died in Egypt, in a foreign land. But as we can see, his burial was that of a befitting royalty. God made him royalty, and his son Joseph accentuated this. The Bible said in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 and 2, that there is time for everything, and a season for every activity under heaven. There is a time to be born and a time to die. The time to plant and the time to uproot. The book of Genesis began with creation of all things, especially that of man, and is ending with the death and the burial of Jacob, whose name was changed by God to Israel, which means one who strives with God and prevails. As per God's plans and promise to Abraham in Genesis 15:13, Jacob and his family came to dwell in Egypt, but there he died. So what key lessons can we learn from our text? We can learn a lesson about death, my friends, about death. No matter how long we live, death will come knocking one day. This is for the righteous and also for the unrighteous. Everyone will die. After Adam's rebellion against God in Genesis chapter 3, God made this decision. He says, then God said in chapter 6, verse 3, "My spirit will not contend with man forever, for he is mortal. His days will be 120 years. So here God sets the limit of man's existence on the earth, after sin contaminated his relationship with man. Psalm 90 verse 10 says, "The length of our days is 70 years or 80. If we have strength, yet their span is but trouble and sorrow, for they quickly pass and we fly away." And as we looked at Ecclesiastes chapter 3, it tells us that there is time to be born and a time to die. Of course, some of the men before Jacob lived much more than 70 years or 120 years because of God's grace and God's mercy. But one thing is certain, that God has decreed it, that man will be born here on earth and will also be dying. So my friends, when one dies, he or she passes to another life. And the Bible tells us that it is a time of judgment. In 2 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 10, it says, "For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, that each one may receive what is due him for the things done while in the body," that is, while on the earth, whether good or bad. So Jacob lived for 147 years, but death came one day. His burial plans were glorious, as we can see from our context, but what was most important was his final destination. So what can we learn? What can we apply from our text? Jesus said that his second coming will be like a thief in the night. It will be sudden. And most often death is exactly like that. It creeps in unannounced and unexpected most often. Matthew 24, verse 42 and 43. Jesus says, therefore keep watch. We must be watchful, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come. But understand this, if the owner of the house had known at what time of night the thief was coming, he would have kept watch and would not have let his house be broken into. So, my friends, we are commanded to live a life of readiness. This means daily life of righteousness and love for God in preparation, because any day, any time, the Lord can call us home. So, my friends, may you live your life today prepared, looking up unto Jesus and being watchful. God bless you and thank you for listening.